Okay, so I was mentioning that uh, if you look at this sentence, for example, I like work on a scale of 1 to 5. So the sentence part is called as the stem of the item or the statement, and these numbers 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, they are the response categories or response format. Now, what are the possibilities that can exist? Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, what are the possibilities that we have in terms of response categories? Response categories, so the easiest and the simplest response categories could be dichotomous. So, the kind of poll that I did very quickly, yes and no, this is an example of a dichotomous where you have just two categories, dichotomous, having two categories and 1 and 0. Uh, so it is very easy for the convenient for the respondent to respond on these items. The big problem with dichotomous scoring is that you will not have too much of a variance. Okay, so it has low uh, it has it has this has low variance. Okay, and when you will do analysis, when you will do your analysis, what you will have to do is you will as a workaround, you will have to combine uh, more these dichotomous items. So if you have 5 items, dichotomous type 0, 1, 0, 1. So if you add all of them, the range will become 0 to 5, right? So if you have 5 items, each having 0, 1, 0, 1, and if you add the scores on them, then the minimum will be 0, maximum will be 5. Now this combined score will have good variance, and you can do your analysis based on this combined score. So in uh, most of the times, this is a recommended approach if it is possible in structural equation modeling or uh, uh, other kinds of techniques, if that is a possibility. Else, there are obviously techniques that use binary data also that could also be used in analysis. So one of the approaches, one of the categories is dichotomous, having 0, 1. Then we have multiple categories. This is the format that we are most familiar with, the Likert kind of scales, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, 1 to 7. Now here also there is a question that is often asked, should we have an odd numbered category, that is 0, 1 to 5, or should we have even category 1 to uh, uh, 1 to 6, right? There is no good answer to whether you should have odd numbered categories or even numbered categories. When you have, and there are schools of thought which talk about advantages and disadvantages of both of these. If you have an odd numbered category, the advantage is that you are giving people an option to say I can't say, I am neutral, right? So if you have an item where people say strongly disagree, disagree, can't say, agreed, and strongly agree. So in a odd numbered scale, odd numbered category, you are giving people an option to use this uh, uh, number and say, I can't say. And if it is even numbered responses, then you are forcing people to fall on one side. Now there is no option of can't say. It will either be uh, uh, either 1 to 3, which will be strongly disagree, mildly disagree, disagree, or mildly agree, agree, and strongly agree. So you are forcing people to take a stand. Now, people have issues with both of this. Some people say, some researchers would say, why are you forcing people to take a stand? Why are you not giving them an option of can't say? Whereas critics of odd numbered scale say that you are giving people an easy option, right? And most of the people will then take the middle path. And so essentially, it is up to you. If you have this question in mind, whether you should take an odd numbered category or even numbered category, you can choose either of these. Okay, you can have a Likert scale of 1 to 5. You can even have a Likert scale of 1 to 6. You can have a Likert scale of 1 to 7 as well. It is up to you, right? You should be aware of the possibilities and the issues that these scales will bring, these categories will bring in. Nobody will reject your paper just because nobody will reject your paper uh, because uh, just because you are taking either an odd numbered category or an even number category. That is what I mentioned here, that no response is necessarily better. Another question that is often asked is whether we should have 1 to 5 or we should have 1 to 7 or we should have 1 to 9, right? Now here also there is advantage and disadvantage. If you have 1 to 7, for example, right? So if you have uh, a, a response response categories of 1 to 7, now you can have very fine responses, right? Because you have more range, 1 to 1 to 7. But what will happen is if you have lots of items, then people have to think more when they are responding on 1 to 7 scale compared to 1 to 5 scale. So if you give more response options, then it can lead to fatigue, and people may actually have lesser ability to discriminate meaningfully. So my suggestion is never have a response category of more than 7. Don't go for 1 to 9. I have very seldom seen, very rarely seen even 1 to 8. If you have to decide between 1 to 5, 1 to 6, or 1 to 7. I think this is where you should take a call. This is a question between odd and even, and this is between 1 and 5, and 1 and 7 is whether you should have more response and less responses, right? There is no, I will actually shy away from giving you a suggestion. I can tell you for sure that even if you take 1 to 5, that is good enough. Even if you take 1 to 6, that is good enough, right? So that will work for your uh, kind of surveys or questionnaires. Then the last thing is, please avoid vague quantity descriptors. Many, some, few, very few, and none. So if you are saying 1 to 5, and you have none, very few, few, some. Now you see what is the difference between some and few. Right now, these are vague descriptors, okay, and you will introduce a lot of measurement error if you are using vague quantity descriptors. So whatever categories you are using, ensure that they are distinct and make sense. What are the response formats? The most common and something that we are most familiar with is the Likert scale. Then there is a scale called a semantic differential. Yesterday, somebody mentioned a semantic differential scale. Now, semantic differential scale is basically this kind of a scale where you ask person to tick mark. So if you are asking about automobile salesman, you are saying this extreme is honest, this extreme is dishonest. Tick mark anywhere. So if I say I tick mark here, right? Then if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then the score here is 5. Quiet and noisy, if I tick mark here somewhere, then the score is 4 on the scale. So you can also have this kind of a scoring format that you can have in your items. Then you have visual analog. This is, for example, 0. This is, let's say, this is 100. Okay, and you have to slide. There will be a cursor. You can slide it somewhere, and let's say you bring it here. Okay, so I bring the pointer here, and so the score comes out to be, sorry, so the score comes out to be 70. There is some issue here. So the score will be 70. So it's a visual analog. It is very sensitive. You can, it's like a ruler, and you slide the cursor between 0 to 100. Wherever you leave the cursor, it will be, that will be the score. It is sensitive. It can give you good results. Another good advantage of this is it is difficult to replicate. So if you were to ask me this question again, even if I slide it, I will not, it is difficult that I will match exactly the same reading again, right? However, this is more possible in an online computer-based test. If you are doing a paper pencil test, you cannot do this visual analog, because that is difficult to. Obviously, you cannot change the cursor in a paper. So you will still have to give, it's more like a number line you will have to leave, which will actually go back to Likert and semantic differential if you are doing it on a paper pencil. If you are using Google Forms, or let's say Qualtrics, or some of these survey websites, you will have this option of having visual analogs, scoring format, response format for your items. Dichotomous, I mentioned binary. This is a binary scale which is usually related to only yes or no. Okay, so what you will get out of this is only a 1 or a 0, right? So you will have to now work with 1 or a 0, and you will have different algorithms to analyze this, right? You will have to work with, if you are doing regressions, then you will have to uh, go in for logit probit models if this is your outcome variable. If you have these as x variables, then you can have normal dummy variable regressions, and so that is the kind of so they, what I'm just trying to say here is that the analysis type will change, okay, in a, and also these scales give you less variance, because you can only have, the respondent can only give you 1 or a 0. You don't have the luxury of having a range of 1 to 7 like a Likert scale. So Vijay, it should, even if it is gender, always keep it as 1 or 0. If even if it is 1 or 2, change it to make 2 as 1 and 1 as 0. Okay, and then lastly, there are also some kinds of questions, okay, where people they are not actually looking at immediate what you are experiencing right now, but you can also have time frame. So, for example, in mood scales, so I do some work on emotions. So, in an item of emotion, you usually typically ask people, uh, tell us how often you experience happiness over the last week. How often have you experienced happiness? So now the time frame you see has been past week, not what you are doing immediately. So you can also have uh, uh, scales where or items where you actually include time frame. You can say over last week, over last one day, in last 24 hours, how often have you experienced happiness? Give us on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 is very often and 1 is never, right? So you can have different items where you can include time frame uh, in the items also, and this is especially used for constructs that change over time, which are actually uh, you think are not stable constructs. They keep changing over time.